Hi and welcome to the Remax Central Property Talk with David and Cameron. Cameron, this week we want to talk about the obligations of a seller. What are the obligations of a seller from signing an offer to purchase?
Well, David, other than the normal ones, which is to disclose any known defects of the property or other characteristics of the house which the purchaser wouldn't necessarily have seen from their first one or two inspections of the property, there are three ones that we deal with mostly here in Joburg, and those would be the electrical compliance certificate, the electric fence compliance certificate, and then a gas conformity certificate, making sure that any gas being piped into the house is done properly and within the regulations.
So Cameron, can you tell us a little bit more about the electrical compliance certificate? What does it actually cover?
Look, David, the requirement is that an electrical compliance certificate is no older than 2 years. So the seller, having had one, as long as they haven't done any sort of major alterations electrically to the house, and they've got one within the last 2 years, they can provide that to go with the registration of the property. But I think one of the things that catches most people out is that the electrical compliance certificate doesn't necessarily mean that the unit is in fact working. What it really means is that the electricity to that point, so let's say we're going to an air conditioning unit. The air conditioning unit may not be working, and the house will still get its compliance certificate done because the electrical point to that unit is in fact safe. And so it's got more to do with health and safety than it's actually got to do with the workings of the house. Now obviously in most contracts the requirement is that everything is in a working order. So the actual contract itself, the OTP, covers that aspect, but the electrical compliance certificate only covers the safety of the installation, not the fact that it's working or not. So we often find that a lot of buyers move into a home and they'll say, oh, the globes are not working, or one of the stoves, the hot plate on the stove is not working, something along those lines. And in fact there's no requirement from electrical compliance that those are in fact in working order.
Okay. And so for the electric fence, does that obviously need to be the same? Does the electric fence need to be working, or again is that the same principle with the electrical compliance certificate?
Very much so. Again, it goes towards health and safety. So for instance, you might go and look at a house that's got an electric fence on the boundary, but the question has to be, is that electric fence working, or is it in a working order? Very often we'll sell a property with an electric fence, but the energizer isn't working, and therefore there isn't a requirement to actually then have that compliance done. So from a buyer's point of view, if you're looking to buy the property with electric fence working, then yes, there obviously would then be a requirement to make sure that it's done properly and it's got the right safety about it. But if it's just literally the strands that are around the property and it's been sold to you that it's not working, then property can register without that particular compliance certificate.
Okay. So the best tip for the buyers out there, make sure is they're switching everything on, make sure that they're touching, making sure it looks forward.
Well, I don't know about touching, that's going to be a bit of a shocking experience. No, the big thing is to obviously understand, and most of the bigger agencies are giving disclosure documents now to the buyer, which the seller has signed off, is to understand exactly what in the property is actually working. And if you have any doubts, it's always a good question to ask that, to ask it directly. Is this working? And again, before it passes transfer, obviously those particular compliance certificates will need to be provided to the attorney, and that can be done at any point right up to registration. So before it goes to the deeds office, the seller can provide that.
Brilliant.
Our pleasure, Dave.
Thank you very much, Cameron. Any questions, obviously leave them in the comments below. If not, we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.